The same way as when Moshe, and that's why it's so appropriate this week we can do it. We can end that war. I'm not asking anyone to believe me, but I'm telling you that this week is Parshat Beshalach. This week is the week that Moshe accomplished two things in the Torah. Number one, Kriyat Yam Suf. What does Kriyat Yam Suf mean? He performed a miracle. No. He created a system, the 72 names, and I suggest that everyone this evening, and all over the world, they will be doing the same thing in all centers of the world that we have. And all peoples, wherever they're located, are going to be told for the rest of this week and every day, there is in Shemot, in Beshalach, the 72 names. Most of you are familiar with it. Scan it. This week, not by chance, but this week, we are in Beshalach. As you read the Zohar, in Beshalach, there are 3 verses, if you recall, for those of you who are unfamiliar, and it's so essential that we all leave here tonight. We all leave here tonight with everything that we have studied here tonight, because we can put a stop to that war tonight and tomorrow and until Shabbat. We can put a stop to it, to the end of a bloodless war. It is possible. Or you want to just hope and pray. You can do that too. And I'm not discouraging anyone from praying. But we've been praying for 2,000 years, says the Zohar. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. Now we have in volume Zion, Parshat Beshalach, the Tavla. This week, to scan this Tavla. This week, because it's the week of Mashiach. This is the week we can connect to the Etz HaChaim, the Tavla. In Parshat Beshalach, it's on page Nun Aleph. This week. Because also in this week, we learn not only how Moshe gave Jews the system by which, and everyone is scanning it now, but it's not that clear, but we're all scanning it. The mental computer is registering it. But this week also, he gave the Jews the system by which to control the forces of nature. Because if you eat and believe only in the Eitz Hadat, Tovara, then sometimes your life will be good, sometimes your life is going to be bad. When you eat only of this world, of the physical world, but if you can connect to the Eitz HaChaim world, and you're eating both, then there is only good and no evil in this world. And also, what we should learn, which was significant this week, and again, it's happening because and we always read this incidentally, in month of Aquarius, always, at the end of Beshalach, what does it say? Remember, there was a little war that was going on. And they fought with whom? Amalek. Right? What does it say there? Moses sent Joshua, with an army to defeat Amalek. Now we know the Zohar, well I say we know here, we know that Amalek is again a code word. It's a code word. It may have been people, but people who their entire computerized system was one of the evil or negative activities. That's what Amalek means. It was not a question to record here a war the Jews won, but important is how did they win it? It tells us. He made Joshua go to conduct his war, but he remained behind Moshe. And what happened? And he had on one side Aaron and the other side Hur, and they lifted up his hands. He was the central column. This is what the Zohar says in brief. He was the central column, Moshe, and Aaron and Hur was right and left. He lifted up his hands, it says. The Jews were strong. When he put down his hands, Amalek was stronger. So, I always ask the question, Moshe, what'd you drop your hands for? Right? They're pretty stupid. Every time he did that, they got stronger. So is that the story? Is that the story? But again, only to teach us that the war is not only fought in the Eitz Hadat level. If you fight it only on the Eitz Hadat level, you have had good and evil. Good, a temporary victory. Evil, you'll have to lose. There'll have to be bloodshed again. It can never be an eternal victory unless you combine it with the Eitz HaChaim, with the level of the stars. Only if we can connect, and we should meditate on the tzaddik and the bet. As for those of you who are not familiar, it's essential because tonight's session is not just a session for gathering more information. It's a session that tonight we got together, that we can meditate on that tavla, those 72 names, because those 72 names provide us with a system of total control over all forms of negativity. All forms of negativity. It can change the whole direction of the physical world. That's what the splitting of the Red Sea was about. What, just to create a miracle? You know what happened after the miracle? Jews still didn't believe. So it was not the idea of seeing this miracle of the water stops. That wasn't the idea. It was only to show that we can have a mastery over physical material, or anything that is involved in the Eitz Hadat. Everything can be good or evil. So the tzaddik connects with Shevat or Dali, and the bet is with Saturn. These are the two that rule. Now, anything of a physical entity belongs in the domain of Eitz Hadat, Tov Ra, good and evil. Good and evil. That means there is good and evil to Saturn in its cosmic influences, and there is good and evil to the constellation of Aquarius. Both have good and evil. Now, just as the Zohar says, when Adam Harishon was sitting around, obviously at that time he didn't have too much to do or didn't have anybody else to create or cause trouble for him, all the animals came to him and he gave them names. So the Zohar says, you mean he had nothing else to do? So he decided to give everyone a name? Says the Zohar briefly, as we discussed before, giving a name, he gave the name, he created dominion over all the animals. A man one time had dominion over the animals. And we can have dominion over animals as we can have dominion over every material object. But, says the Zohar, you have to be connected at what level? At the Eitz HaChaim level. That means with all of our meditation, restriction is another ingredient.